Chapter 1532. From the 5th round onwards, the survival rate of the Dragon God Valley increased. Although the Heavenly God sect, Empyrean Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect continued to send out their experts to challenge the weaker members of the Dragon God Valley, it became more difficult to kill them. In the 5th round, one person managed to escape from the fighting stage, saving his life. The other two had almost escaped from the fighting stage, but they were killed in the end. In this round, the Dragon God Valley had lost 2 and lost 2. There were 17 people left. No one challenged Lu Ming in this round. It seemed that they were not confident, and wanted to wait until the end of the round. In the 6th round, the Divine Dragon Valley lost again, but they managed to keep their lives. Although the Divine Celestial sect and the other 2 sects wanted to kill the Divine Dragon Valley's people, they were all pushed off the battle stage. The atmosphere in the Dragon God Valley finally became better. After this round, there were 13 people left in the Dragon God Valley. Other than the Life and Death Sword faction, the Dragon God Valley had the least number of people left. This was only the 6th round, and most of the other sects still had around 30 people left. Some of the smaller sects had around 20 people left, while others had close to 30. The Heavenly God sect and Empyrean Demon sect had around 30 people left. Then 2 more rounds passed. There were only 5 people left in the Dragon God Valley. They were Lu Ming, Han Sun, Tian Chui, Xuanixin, and Ziyu. After so many rounds, no one had challenged Tian Chui and Xuanixin. In the battle 10 days ago, Tian Chui and Xuanixin had displayed their terrifying battle prowess. To be able to fight against Mo He, Wu Qiandu, and other geniuses, their battle prowess was incomparably strong. It was normal that they had not been challenged before. At this point, the 8th round had passed. From the 9th round onwards, the Heavenly God sect's faces started to turn sour. The remaining 5 people from the Dragon God Valley were not weak. They did not know who to challenge. "I'll go and kill Lu Ming!" A young man in the 6th layer of the martial royal realm stepped out and flew onto the fighting stage. "Lu Ming, come out!" The young man in the peak 6th layer of the martial royal realm condensed the spear of divine punishment and pointed it at Lu Ming. "That's what I want!" Lu Ming smiled coldly. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Buzz! Buzz! 1. The Heavenly God sect's genius emitted a light scream from his body. Even the armor of an emperor's spiritual weapon appeared. Evidently, that person had learned his lesson. From the very start, he had set up layers of defenses around himself. "He's much more careful now, but he's still going to die," Lu Ming said. "Shameless boasting. You're the one who's going to die. Kill!" The Heavenly Divinity sect's genius shouted. He took a step forward and turned into a ray of sacred light, rushing towards Lu Ming. Whoosh! The spear of divine retribution streaked across the void, emitting a terrifying whistling sound. Boom! Lu Ming punched out, colliding with the spear of divine punishment. With a loud explosion, Lu Ming remained motionless, while the other party retreated several steps. "Your combat strength is just SOSO." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "I'm not done yet." The other party snapped furiously as a milky white book flew out from his forehead. The book was an emperor's spiritual weapon. The book flipped open, emitting rays of white light that landed on the figure of the Heavenly Divinity sect's genius. His aura became stronger. A long spear appeared in his hand, which was milky white in color. He lashed out with the spear, which was stronger than before. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw out a few punches in succession. Terrifying fist intents swept across the void, aiming at his opponent. His opponent kept lashing out with his spear, which transformed into terrifying spears of divine punishment that collided with Lu Ming's fist intents. Terrifying explosions took place on the fighting stage. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 10 blows. That Lu Ming's strength is incredible. He's only a peak 4th layer martial dominator realm cultivator, yet he's able to fight against a peak 6th layer martial dominator realm genius. It's indeed terrifying, but Lu Ming's cultivation is 2 layers lower than his. I'm sure he's going to lose. Not necessarily. The person from the Heavenly Divinity sect only has a middle-to-earthly astral body, while Lu Ming has a superior-to-earthly astral body. The crowd discussed among themselves. Die. The strength of the genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect became even more ferocious as he continued to attack Lu Ming. Is this your limit? Let's end this then, Lu Ming said in a cold tone. Boom! It was as if Lu Ming's fist intent could penetrate the void, shattering the spears of divine punishment that the genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect had thrown out. Bang! Then, Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a punch that destroyed everything. He landed a heavy blow on the other party's chest. The force surged and broke through several layers of the other party's defense, bombarding the other party's armor. The armor vibrated as the genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect was sent flying. He slid on the fighting ring for a long distance, and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. Now Lu Ming unleashed his full strength. Although his opponent's cultivation was 2 layers higher than his, Lu Ming's astral body and chaotic domain were much stronger than his opponent's astral body and chaotic domain. He was able to make up for the difference between their cultivation levels. The genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect was furious. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and closed in on his opponent. I have an Emperor's spiritual weapon to protect me. You can't kill me! The genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect roared and retreated quickly. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered as an Emperor's spiritual weapon spear appeared in his hand. Swoosh! The long spear pierced towards his opponent. 13th strike. The terrifying spear radiance shattered his opponent's counterattack and pierced his armor. It's useless, his opponent shouted. However, in the next moment, his face changed drastically and became filled with fear. At the tip of Lu Ming's long spear, 13 layers of attack power were instantly stacked and erupting with terrifying penetrating power. Puff! The terrifying penetrative power directly pierced through the other party's spiritual emperor armor. The long spear pierced through the other party's heart. Buzz! Then, the long spear vibrated and the land of destruction exploded. His opponent's spiritual deity disappeared before he could escape. The genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect was dead. His gasps could be heard from the crowd. A genius who had cultivated a medium earth spiritual body and was at the peak of the 6th-layer martial royal realm was killed by Lu Ming. The genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect wanted to kill Lu Ming, but he was killed by Lu Ming again. This level of prodigy was considered the pinnacle of existence among all the participants of the treasure-peddling meeting, except for the prodigies who had cultivated the superior earth spiritual body. However, a superior earth spiritual body was extremely rare. There were not many of them in the entire Tsinzhou. Of the 13 top sects in the treasure sorting meeting, each sect had at most 1 or 2 superior earth spiritual bodies. Some sects did not even have one. It could be said that Lu Ming's combat strength was one of the top geniuses in the treasure sorting meeting. Chapter 1533. Good job! Tian Chui yelled excitedly. So did the people from Dragon God Valley. The Celestial Divinity sect had lost 3 level 6 martial royal realm geniuses. Lu Ming had killed 2 and Luo Xiang had killed 1. Damn it! Lu Ming deserves to die! Someone from the Celestial Divinity sect shouted angrily. There weren't many geniuses with medium earth spiritual bodies in the Celestial Divinity sect. Now that Lu Ming had killed several of them, it was a great loss. Lu Ming put away his spoils and returned to the platform. Next, it was the Sky Demon sect's turn. I'll go! Someone from the Sky Demon sect stepped forward. It's him, Mo He. Mo He is going to fight personally. Who will he challenge? Many people were shocked. Mo He was a top genius in the Sky Demon sect. He had a high earth spiritual body and was at the peak of level 6 martial royal realm. He had a high chance of becoming one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tseng Prefecture. The top 10 geniuses of the Tseng Prefecture all had high earth spiritual bodies. In theory, anyone who cultivated a high earth spiritual body would have a chance of becoming one of the top 10 geniuses. Of course, it was just a chance. Even if one had a high earth spiritual body and had the same cultivation, there would be differences in combat strength. For example, the strength of one's domain martial technique, one's combat strength, and various secret techniques would determine one's combat strength. Emohi's gaze landed on the 5 people from the Divine Dragon Valley. His gaze swept across them before finally landing on Ziyu. "I knew he would challenge me," Ziyu said with a smile. "Ziyu, if you can't beat him, get off the platform and save your life," Han Sun warned. Although Ziyu's combat strength was strong, he didn't have a high earth spiritual body and was no match for Emohi. "I know. Don't worry." Ziyu stepped onto the platform. Without further ado, the battle began. Ziyu was a genius from Purple Dragon Valley. He cultivated the Purple Dragon Battle Body, which was a medium earth spiritual body. His domain had reached the peak of level 7, and his domain martial technique had reached the peak. His combat strength was astonishing. Although Ziyu's spiritual body was inferior to Emohi's spiritual body, the difference in their combat strength was not too great. It was impossible for Emohi to kill Ziyu in a short period of time. The two exchanged close to 100 moves before Ziyu lost and was blasted off the battle stage. Ziyu had failed. There were only 4 people left in the Dragon God Valley. The challenges continued, and soon, it was the Desire Poison sect's turn. The leader of the Desire Poison sect looked at the 4 from the Dragon God Valley and hesitated. None of the remaining 4 from Dragon God Valley were simple. If they wanted to send someone to fight, they could only send someone with an earthly spiritual body, a peak 6th layer martial Emperor realm cultivator. Moreover, they wouldn't be able to kill Lu Ming and the others. Even if they could defeat one of Lu Ming's group, they would be injured, which would be disadvantageous for them in the following battles. In the end, the Desire Poison sect sent out a weakling. For the first time, they didn't challenge the Dragon God Valley but another sect. The Heavenly God sect's leader's face darkened. However, he knew that the Heavenly God sect, the Sky Universe Demon sect and the Desire Poison sect had teamed up to deal with the Dragon God Valley. However, the 3 sects all wanted the final victory. If they send out their best geniuses now, both sides would be injured and it would be disadvantageous for them in the following battles. After the Desire Poison sect, the 9 Heaven Sword sect sent someone to fight. Soon, it was the Dragon God Valley's turn. A cold killing intent flashed in Han Sun's eyes as he said, "Now, let's start the counterattack. Tian Chui, you go." "Good, haha, it's finally my turn." Tian Chui laughed. He was about to explode from holding back. Now, it was finally his turn. Boom! Tian Chui landed on the battle stage, and his eyes fell on a young man from the Heavenly God sect. He shouted, "You, come down and die! Do you think I'm afraid of you?" The young man from the Heavenly God sect jumped onto the battle stage and attacked Tian Chui. "Go to hell!" Tian Chui roared. He was like a mad dragon as he swung his giant hammer at his opponent, ignoring his opponent's attack and defense. Boom! The young man from the Heavenly God sect screamed in pain as he was smashed into a pile of meat by Tian Chui's hammer. "Die, die!" Skyhammer roared. His huge hammer danced in the air, causing the void to rumble. His eyes were filled with malevolent killing intent. Good kill! The disciples of the Dragon God Valley cheered happily. Han Sun and Lu Ming revealed a cold smile on their faces. The Dragon God Valley's counterattack was finally going to start. This was Lu Ming's plan. First, protect the people, then counterattack. This was to preserve the lives of the Dragon God Valley's disciples and leave the strongest one alive. At the beginning, many people were killed. They had no choice but to do so. If they didn't do so, the weaker disciples would all die. Saving the counterattack for the last was the only way to preserve the lives of the Dragon God Valley's disciples. The disciples of the Heavenly God sect gritted their teeth in anger. The people from the other sects were deep in thought. They seemed to have thought of something. Sky Hammer returned to the platform. After that, another 3 matches were held. This round ended, and the 10th round began. It was the heavenly god sect's turn to challenge again. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on the heavenly god sect. How would the heavenly god sect fight? Would they continue to challenge the Dragon God Valley? Who would they send? At this moment, the leader of the heavenly god sect looked gloomy and hesitant. He was in a difficult situation. The remaining 4 from the Dragon God Valley had terrifying combat strength. If he were to send someone to challenge them, he would definitely send the strongest Sky Prides. Sending the others would only be sending them to their deaths. Moreover, it wouldn't be easy to defeat Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and the others. Even if they could win, they would definitely be injured and their combat strength would be greatly reduced. If the heavenly god sect's strongest cultivators were injured, the other sect's strongest cultivators would definitely not let go of this opportunity. They would challenge the heavenly god sect's strongest cultivators. In this way, the heavenly god sect's strongest cultivators would probably be eliminated. Without their strongest cultivators, the heavenly god sect might not even be able to enter the top 10. The heavenly god sect was now in a passive position. The Sky Prides of the other sects had obviously thought of this, and were looking forward to it. How could this be? The leader of the heavenly god sect clenched his fists tightly. Similarly, the leaders of the Sky Universe Demon sect and Desire Poison sect felt the same. Hey, are you guys going to challenge them or not? Don't dawdle and waste other people's time, Lu Ming said calmly as if he was waiting for the heavenly god sect's challenge. Lu Ming. Many disciples of the heavenly god sect gritted their teeth and glared at Lu Ming. However, they definitely wouldn't dare to challenge Lu Ming. They would only be courting death. Brother Wu, Brother Demon! At this moment, the leader of the heavenly god sect sent a message to the leaders of the Sky Universe Demon sect and Desire Poison sect. How about this? Let's put the Dragon God Valley aside and eliminate the weakest sects first. Then we'll gather our strength to deal with the Dragon God Valley. What do you think? All right, I agree. Chapter 1534. The leaders of the Heavenly Divinity Sect, Empyrean Demon Sect, and Desire Poison Sect discussed and decided to eliminate the weakest sects before joining forces to deal with Lu Ming and the others from the Divine Dragon Valley. They had no choice but to do so. If they went all out to deal with Lu Ming and the rest, the other sects would most likely take advantage of them. In that case, they might not even be able to enter the top 10 and participate in this year's treasure exhibition. They could not accept that no matter what. If they eliminated the weakest sects, they would at least be able to enter the top 10 and participate in the treasure sorting meeting. They would then deal with Lu Ming and the others after they entered the top 10. That was their plan. Sure enough, the Heavenly Divinity Sect sent out a LV5 Martial Royal to challenge a LV4 Martial Royal from the Piyuan family. The Piyuan family was one of the weakest forces. It seems like the Heavenly Divinity Sect is afraid. Why don't you dare to challenge my junior brothers from the Divine Dragon Valley? A LV7 Martial Royal from the Divine Dragon Valley said as he looked at the Heavenly Divinity Sect with disdain. They had been mocked by the Heavenly Divinity Sect, saying that they would definitely not be able to participate in the treasure sorting meeting. Now, they could finally fight back. Humph, what's the rush? That's right. The best part is yet to come. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's LV7 Martial Royal and above snorted. Han Sun, that's a good plan. An old voice came from a pavilion. It was the Saint Realm Elder of the Divine Dragon Valley. Elder, this plan was proposed by junior brother Lu Ming. Han Sun bowed to the pavilion and said, Not bad. Continue to work hard. Make those sects pay a price. Otherwise, do you think that the Divine Dragon Valley is easy to bully? The Saint Realm Elder of the Divine Dragon Valley continued. Don't worry, Elder. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied, Lu Ming said with a smile. At that moment, the battle had already begun. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's genius defeated the Piyuan family's genius easily. Then, it was the Heavenly Divinity Sect's turn. They also sent out an expert to challenge the Piyuan family, and defeated them easily. When it was the Desire Poison Sect's turn, they would also challenge the Piyuan family. Everyone understood that the three great sects of the Heavenly God sect were going to join hands to eliminate the weaker sections. The Piyuan family was helpless. They couldn't even resist. This time, the Piyuan clan didn't have anyone with a spiritual body who had reached the top of the sixth Huang Qi layer. They only had one spiritual body, so the cultivators of the fourth Huang Qi layer couldn't fight back. Soon, it was Dragon God Valley's turn. This time, Xuaningxin had challenged the Heavenly God sect to a duel, and had killed a sixth-layer martial dominator realm genius of the Heavenly God sect, causing the crowd of the Heavenly God sect to wear unpleasant expressions. Previously, they had hunted down the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. They were so arrogant that the Dragon God Valley could hardly retaliate. But now, the people of Dragon God Valley were hunting them down, and they couldn't fight back. They were so depressed that they wanted to die. In the 11th round, the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Desire Poison sect continued to challenge the Piyuan family. When it was Dragon God Valley's turn, it was finally Han Sun's turn. Han Sun also challenged a sixth-layer martial dominator realm genius of the Heavenly God sect. Han Sun had a spiritual body, and his cultivation was at the peak of the sixth Huang Qi layer. He was extremely powerful, and his opponent couldn't even rush down the fighting stage. He was easily killed by Han Sun. The Heavenly God sect could only endure. They had to endure until three other sects were eliminated, and then they would fight back. In the 12th round, the three great sects of the Heavenly God sect continued to challenge the Piyuan clan. Because there were other sects challenging the Piyuan clan only had a few people left. They were doomed to be eliminated. This round, it was finally Lu Ming's turn. Whoosh! Lu Ming stepped forward and appeared on the fighting stage. He looked at the Heavenly God sect. The crowd wasn't surprised at all. Dragon God Valley had come to take revenge by killing the people of the Heavenly God sect. When Lu Ming looked at the remaining geniuses of the Heavenly God sect, their faces changed drastically. A few of the sixth-layer martial dominators turned pale. In the end, Lu Ming's eyes fell on a white-haired young man. "You come down and die," Lu Ming said coldly. "What? Lu Ming is going to challenge by Mo." The crowd was shocked. "This is going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting." "Indeed. I didn't expect that Lu Ming would challenge by Mo now. In recent years, there have been many geniuses in the Celestial sect. There are many powerful people. It is said that there are 3 superior grade Earth spirit bodies who are attending the treasure sorting meeting. Bai Mo is one of them." "That's right. Bai Mo is one of the top experts in the treasure sorting meeting." Many people spoke excitedly. The battle between the top experts was about to begin. "Junior brother Lu Ming!" Han Sun's eyes lit up. Lu Ming's action was out of his expectation. He thought that Lu Ming would challenge an ordinary sixth-layer martial dominator. "You want to challenge me?" Bai Mo said coldly as killing intent surged from his body. "That's right," Lu Ming said. "Well, I wanted to kill you later. Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll send you on your way first," Bai Mo said coldly. His body moved and he appeared in the fighting ring, facing Lu Ming. "Is that so? The Heavenly God sect will be heartbroken if I kill you." Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. "White energy cut." At this moment, Bai Mo moved. A snow-white sword gleamed slashed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Before the sword arrived, the sharp intent pierced the air and produced a whistling sound. Not everyone in the Heavenly God sect practiced the divine skill. Many of them practiced other skills. Buzz! A sovereign spiritual weapon appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He shook the long spear and it turned into a spear radiance that pierced through the air. The spear radiance and the sword radiance collided and a dense force spread out in all directions. Lu Ming and Bai Mo were already engaged in a fierce battle. Bai Mo's realm was very special. It was a vast expanse of white, and every ray of white radiance was a ray of sword chi. Coupled with Bai Mo's realm martial technique, its power was terrifying. The dense sword radiance pierced towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the 13 strikes. His long spear was like a dragon, sweeping across the void. Each strike contained 13 rays of attack power. The endless sword radiance was destroyed by the long spear and dissipated in the air. The two figures intertwined on the fighting ring and collided with each other from time to time. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged more than 50 blows. Divine Gate Seal! In the process of the battle, Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. Suddenly, 6 sealed doors appeared and emitted rays of light to seal Bai Mo's pupils contracted and he shouted, "God Bai, Sword Shadow!" Bai Mo's body emitted a white light like a sword. In a flash, he rushed out of the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. What a wonderful spiritual body! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Chapter 1535. He could not help but admit that the upper earthly spiritual body was extremely talented and powerful. Bai Mo's strength was absolutely shocking. With his cultivation of the peak 6th layer martial dominator realm, he could easily kill an 8th layer martial dominator realm expert. Divine White Sword Formation! Bai Mo uttered a roar as he charged out from the 9 seals of the God Gate. His eyes turned completely white as strange runes appeared in them. Buzz! In the sky, densely packed patterns suddenly appeared, like a huge white array formation. Following this, the same runes appeared under Lu Ming's feet, which looked like a giant formation. They surrounded Lu Ming from above and below. This is not a formation, but a secret technique of the spiritual body. Lu Ming was startled. Some powerful spiritual bodies were able to produce secret techniques of the spiritual body. In other words, they were brought along by the bloodline. For example, Lu Ming's devouring force was brought along by the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Even after refining the divine dragon flesh, it still retained the devouring force. Other bloodlines might also retain some powerful secret techniques after transforming into the spiritual body. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Countless sword intents were emitted from the 2 runes and fired toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming had no way to retreat in all directions. Wind Element Technique! Lu Ming's heart shuddered as a blue force from the air-frozen bead entered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming executed the Wind Element Technique, causing his figure to turn into a breeze and float in the air. Lu Ming's figure swayed, leaving behind a string of afterimages. He flashed among the infinite sword auras, avoiding the sword auras. However, there were too many sword intents. In such a narrow space, Lu Ming could not dodge them all regardless of how fast his movement was. Whoosh! A sharp sword intent pierced toward Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming's body was covered with the primal chaos domain, resisting the sword chi. Sizzling sounds could be heard as the sword chi pierced through the primal chaos domain and stabbed into Lu Ming's chest. It wasn't that the chaotic domain wasn't strong. First, the sword chi was too terrifying. Second, Lu Ming's chaotic domain was too weak. It was only level 4. At least for Bai Mo, his level was too low, so he couldn't defend against it. If it was a level 5 chaotic domain, the sword chi would not have been able to break through its defenses. However, the primal chaos domain had greatly weakened the power of the sword chi. Roar! At that instant, a dragon's roar could be heard from Lu Ming's body as a layer of dragon scales appeared on his body. Clang! The sword chi struck the dragon scales, causing sparks to fly. The sword chi collapsed, and the dragon scales on Lu Ming's chest were slightly damaged, revealing a trace of blood. What terrifying sword chi! Lu Ming's heart stirred. Even an 8th layer martial dominator realm cultivator would be slain by the sword intent from the 2 patterns. Whoosh! Whoosh! More energy poured into the air-frozen pearl. Lu Ming activated the wind origin skill to the maximum, and his speed increased. Lu Ming's figure was everywhere in the sky. However, Lu Ming couldn't rush out of the 2 patterns because the 2 patterns had covered the entire fighting ring. If he rushed out of the pattern, it would mean that he had rushed out of the fighting ring. In that case, Lu Ming would lose this round. If it had been any other place, Lu Ming would have rushed out long ago. Haha, Lu Ming is doomed to die under senior brother Bai Mo's white god sword array. That's right. Senior brother by Mosai technique has killed many high-level martial dominators. Once one is trapped in it, one will die unless one's cultivation is much higher than his. Lu Ming actually took the initiative to challenge senior brother by Mo. He's courting death. Seeing that Lu Ming was in danger, the disciples of the celestial sect were in a good mood. They couldn't help but mock and ridicule him. On the other hand, Tian Chui and Xuaningxin were worried. In the fighting ring, Bai Mo's eyes had turned pure white. There were lines on his pupils that were exactly the same as the two patterns. Bai Mo stepped on the void and landed on the pattern above. His territory seemed to have merged with the pattern. Suddenly, the pattern became even more terrifying. The sword chi whistled and its speed increased greatly. Lu Ming, today is the day you die, Bai Mo said coldly. It's too early for you to be happy, Lu Ming said indifferently. At the same time, Lu Ming continued to form seals with his hands. 9 seals of the Holy Gate. A deep voice could be heard as 6 sealed doors appeared. However, this time, the sealed doors were not facing Bai Mo, but Lu Ming himself. The 6 sealed doors floated around Lu Ming and shone brightly. The sword chi that was aimed at Lu Ming was suppressed by the power of the sealed doors and stopped in the air. 9 dragons stomping the sky. Following that, Lu Ming took 9 consecutive steps. The power of the 9 dragon sky-stomping steps erupted, dispersing the sword aura below him. With the help of this force, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky. Unknowingly, the Emperor's spiritual weapon Long Spear appeared in his hands again. He merged with the holy spiritual weapon and unleashed the 13 strikes. He shot up into the sky and attacked Bai Mo's swoosh. Swoosh! In the process of shooting up into the sky, 2 black holy swords appeared in Lu Ming's eyes. Holy Sword Skill. Holy Sword Skill was a spiritual attack. It broke through Bai Mo's pattern and rushed into Bai Mo's body. Ah! At that moment, Bai Mo screamed in pain. It was as if his soul was being torn apart. As a martial emperor's cultivation increased, his spiritual spirit would become stronger and stronger. At the same time, his soul would become stronger as well. The higher the cultivation level, the stronger the spiritual strength. Lu Ming's soul had been refined by the alchemy Calamity Bell. His spiritual strength was dozens of times stronger than a martial artist of the same level. During this period of time, he had been cultivating the holy sword skill and his spiritual strength had become stronger. If Lu Ming was facing a martial artist of the same level, Lu Ming would be able to destroy his soul with the holy sword skill. Even a genius like Bai Mo, whose cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's, felt as if his soul was about to be torn apart. At that moment, the 2 patterns under Bai Mo's feet dimmed. Bam! Lu Ming broke through the patterns and pierced Bai Mo's body with his sharp spear. Ah! Bai Mo screamed in agony. Then, under Lu Ming's destructive power, his body and soul were destroyed. Bai Mo was dead. At that moment, there was a sudden silence around the fighting ring. Almost everyone opened their eyes wide and looked at the fighting ring in shock. Just a moment ago, Lu Ming had been completely suppressed and his life was in danger. However, in the next moment, the situation had been reversed. Lu Ming had killed Bai Mo with 1 blow. The change had happened so quickly that no one could react. Bai Mo had been killed and the patterns on the fighting ring had disappeared. Bai Mo's body fell heavily on the fighting ring, and it had awakened everyone. There was an uproar at the scene. Senior brother Bai Mo! Junior brother Bai Mo! Ah, Lu Ming, you deserve to die! Angry shouts could be heard from the divine sect's side. Bai Mo had a superior earth spiritual body. There were not many geniuses like him in the divine sect. Every one of them had the potential to become one of the top 10 geniuses in the Tsung state. In the future, they would have a great chance to become a martial sage. They might even have a chance to become a supreme sage. To a sect, each of these geniuses was an immeasurable amount of wealth. Chapter 1536. On the other hand, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Good job! Isn't the Heavenly God sect arrogant? That's the way to kill them! Lu Ming is invincible! Many people shouted. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the others who were close to Lu Ming were so excited that their faces turned red. Previously, many disciples of the Dragon God Valley had been killed. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley had nowhere to vent their anger and frustration. Now, they had vented all their anger. A genius with a superior earth spiritual body was more valuable than all the disciples of the Dragon God Valley combined. The Heavenly God sect had only sent 3 such geniuses to participate in the small meeting. Now one of them had died. It was a great loss. Trash! Lu Ming said coldly in the fighting ring. He took Bai Mo's storage ring with his hand. Ah, Lu Ming, I'll kill you! You're dead! Some geniuses of the 7th layer martial royal realm and above shouted angrily in the stands. What? Disciples below the 7th layer can't do it. Do you want to fight? The disciples of the 7th layer martial royal realm and above said coldly in the stands. The disciples of the Heavenly God sect looked even more upset. Lu Ming's strength has reached this level? Ziwuji said in the Heavenly God sect stands. He clenched his fists tightly. Beside him sat Eden and Ji Hongchen. They were all from the continent of godly ruins. A few years ago, they had competed with Lu Ming. Now Lu Ming had completely surpassed them. The strongest among them was Eden. However, he was only a 2nd layer martial emperor at the moment. Ziwuji and Ji Hongchen were still stuck at the peak of the 1st layer martial royal realm. Eden and Ji Hongchen had a complicated look on their faces. Ziwuji, Ji Hongchen, after this meeting, I plan to leave the Heavenly God sect and train myself. What about you two? Eden sent a message to Ziwuji and Ji Hongchen. The 3 of them were not on good terms in the continent of godly ruins. They were even competitors. However, after coming to the Yuan continent, the 3 of them became closer. After all, they came from the same place. You want to leave the Heavenly God sect? With your current cultivation, it's very dangerous for you to leave the sect and venture outside. Ziwuji's face changed. Only danger is worth tempering. If I die on the road of tempering myself, I can only blame myself for not being skilled enough. But if we stay in the Heavenly Divine sect, outsiders like us won't be able to receive good training. We'll be no different from odd job workers. We'll never be able to catch up to Lu Ming. Eden seemed to have made up her mind. I'll go with you. Ji Hongchen pondered for a moment before he spoke. Ziwuji's complexion changed for a while before he grit his teeth and said, I will continue to stay in the Heavenly God sect. All right. Eden nodded. Everyone had their own ambitions, and he would not force them. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming put away the storage ring and returned to platform number 10 in a flash. Lu Ming, well done, haha! Tian Chui laughed loudly. Xuanixin and Han Sen also smiled. The disciples of the Celestial God sect flew down to the fighting stage and took Bai Mo's body away. The competition continued. Soon, this round ended, and a new round began. It was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. The leader of the Heavenly God sect glanced coldly at Lu Ming and the others. But in the end, he still sent people to challenge the Piyuan family. They could only endure for now. Now that they had lost the top expert, their strength was greatly reduced. They did not dare to fight with the Dragon God Valley now as they were afraid that they would not be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect and the Desire Poison sect followed in the footsteps of the Heavenly God sect to challenge the Piyuan family. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn, Tian Chui challenged and killed a 6th rank expert. Just like that, a few rounds passed. The first sect to be eliminated was finally born. The Piyuan family was eliminated by the Heavenly God sect, the Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and the Desire Poison sect. Now there were only 12 sects left. The competition continued. When it was Lu Ming's turn to challenge, he did not challenge the top expert of the other side this time. Instead, he chose a weaker opponent. The competition went on one round after another. The atmosphere became more and more oppressive. The faces of the Heavenly God sect became more and more unpleasant. Every round, the Dragon God Valley would kill one of their sky prides. Those who were selected to participate in the small gathering were the top sky prides. The loss of each of them would cause the Heavenly God sect heartache. But now, they were being killed one after another. When the 19th round ended, the Heavenly God sect only had 16 people left. The losses were beyond imagination. The Dragon God Valley still had 4 people left. At this time, another 2 weaker sects were eliminated. Finally, there were only 10 sects left. These 10 sects were equivalent to obtaining the right to participate in the treasure meeting. When the 20th round began, it was the Heavenly God sect's turn to challenge again. Brother Wu, Brother Mo, it's time to eliminate the Dragon God Valley, the leader of the Heavenly God sect said coldly. His voice was filled with endless coldness. Great, that's what I want. The Heavenly Universe Demon sect's Mo's eyes were especially cold. I've been waiting for this moment. The Desire Poison sect's Wu Qiandao's eyes were even colder. Poisonous insects crawled out of his body and swam around him. Brother Wang, why don't we work together to eliminate the Dragon God Valley? The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect. The 9 Heaven Sword sect had a good relationship with the Heavenly God sect. On the contrary, they didn't have a good relationship with the Dragon God Valley. He wanted the 9 Heaven Sword sect to deal with Lu Ming and the others. The eyes of the 9 Heaven Sword sect's leader flickered as he looked in the direction of the Dragon God Valley. He said with a hint of fear, I won't get involved in your business. He didn't want to get involved in the conflict between the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, Desire Poison sect, and the Dragon God Valley. Moreover, the Dragon God Valley wasn't easy to deal with. Humph. The leader of the Heavenly God sect's face darkened when he heard the 9 Heaven Sword sect's rejection. Hey, are you guys going to challenge us or not? Stop wasting time. Tian Chui carried his hammer and looked at the Heavenly God sect's direction. Since you guys are in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Luaning, you're up. The leader of the Heavenly God sect said to a black-robed figure. I've been waiting for this moment. The black-robed figure said coldly, causing the hearts of many Heavenly God sect's disciples to tremble. They were well aware of how terrifying the black-robed chaos shadows was. Whoosh! A shadow flashed and Luaning appeared on the fighting stage. Many of the weaker ones didn't even see how he appeared on the fighting stage. You come down. A pair of cold eyes stared at Tian Chui from within the black robe and said coldly, Haha, it's finally my turn. Tian Chui laughed. Tian Chui, you have to be careful. This person is one of the 3 superior earthly spiritual bodies of the Heavenly God sect. He specializes in assassination techniques. Han Sun warned with a serious expression. Don't worry. No matter what he's good at, I'll crush him with my hammer. Chapter 1537. Boom! Tian Chui, carrying a huge hammer the size of a water tank, rushed towards the battle stage like an iron tower, and landed on the battle stage, causing the entire stage to rumble. Shorty, let Grandpa Sky Hammer's hammer take care of you! Sky Hammer brandished his water tank-like hammer, revealing a malevolent killing intent. Die! At this moment, Wanning moved. His body was like a shadow as he suddenly appeared in front of Sky Hammer. A thin and long sword stabbed towards Sky Hammer's heart. Fast, accurate, and ruthless. He was like a trained assassin. Boom! Sky Hammer stomped on the ground and quickly retreated. Then, he used his huge hammer to block in front of him. Clang! Wan Ying's sword hit Sky Hammer's hammer and bounced back. Wan Ying used the force of the rebound to appear above Sky Hammer's head. A terrifying sword light stabbed towards Sky Hammer's head. Scram! Sky Hammer roared and smashed his hammer towards Wan Ying's head. The hammer smashed down, creating a terrifying gust of wind that caused the sky to rumble. Clang! The hammer hit Wan Ying's sword. However, Wan Ying's body seemed to be weightless. He could appear wherever he wanted. Shwa! In the next moment, Wan Ying's body appeared behind Sky Hammer and stabbed out with his sword. Sky Hammer used his huge hammer to block Luan Ying's attack. However, Luan Ying's movement technique was too fast. He constantly moved around Sky Hammer's body. His sword was like a poisonous snake, aiming for Sky Hammer's vital points every time. Shadow Domain! On the stage, Lu Ming's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Luan Ying had comprehended the Shadow Domain. He moved like a shadow and cultivated the assassination sword Dao. His perfect combination made him shockingly powerful. He could usually kill cultivators stronger than him in one hit. It was obvious that the opponent had arranged for Luan Ying to challenge Sky Hammer. Luan Ying could counter Sky Hammer and prevent him from using his brute force. Scram! 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 Sky Hammer became more and more furious. He kept smashing his huge hammer, creating a terrifying gust of wind that swept in all directions. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sword light stabbed out from under Sky Hammer's feet. This sword came without any warning, and it was inconceivably fast. This sword was actually thrust out from the Heavenly Hammer's own shadow. This exceeded everyone's expectations. Not good! Han Sun and Xuanixin exclaimed in shock. Roar! Tian Chui seemed to have also sensed the terrifying danger. With a roar, the muscles on his body squirmed and a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. At the same time, Tian Chui retreated rapidly to avoid the sword. Puff! The sword light continued to sweep across Tian Chui's leg. The dragon scales were cut open, revealing a deep wound. If Tian Chui had not reacted in time, one of his legs would have been chopped off. Whoosh! However, at this moment, under Tian Chui's feet, another sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from his own shadow. What a strange attack! Kill! Sky Hammer roared as the massive hammer in his hand smashed down heavily on his own shadow. Boom! The giant hammer directly smashed the sword light and smashed heavily on the shadow of the battle platform. The entire fighting ring shook violently. Not far away, Luan Ying's body trembled and he took a few steps back. It seemed that Sky Hammer's attack had hurt him. Whoosh! Next, Luan Ying's body flashed and disappeared. At this time, 8 more shadows appeared around the hammer. Every time the shadows appeared, a sword light would shoot out towards the hammer. Tian Chui used his massive hammer to block the enemy's attack. However, the attacks from all directions were too fast for Tian Chui to block all of them. Puff! Puff! After a while, a few wounds appeared on Tian Chui's body. They were so deep that his bones could be seen. Haha, senior brother Luan Ying is going to win! A disciple from the Celestial God sect sneered. On the other hand, everyone from Dragon God Valley was watching carefully with a dark face. Barbaric Dragon Strike! Suddenly, Tian Chui roared. He grabbed the handle of his massive hammer with both hands and swung it. His entire body spun rapidly. The handle of Tian Chui's hammer was extremely long. When he swung it, it was like a hurricane sweeping in all directions. Bam! 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 The 8 shadows could not dodge at all. When they were swept by the hammer, they all collapsed. The 8 shadows collapsed and reformed into a single shadow. It was Luan Ying's shadow. At this moment, the black robe on Luan Ying's head was destroyed, revealing a dark and gloomy face. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he was also injured by Tian Chui's attack. Shadow Sword Kill! A low voice came from Luan Ying's mouth. His body slowly became blurry and turned into a shadow. In the end, the shadow also disappeared. Luan Ying seemed to have completely disappeared from the fighting stage. Even his aura could not be sensed. A shadow-type spiritual body! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Whoosh! At this moment, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from the top of his head. Tian Chui swung his hammer upwards. However, at the same time, a sword light pierced towards Tian Chui's feet, left and right. Tian Chui roared angrily and quickly retreated to avoid the sword light. However, a sword light still left a sword wound on Tian Chui's body. Around the heavenly hammer, sword light constantly appeared, soundless and without any signs. Barbaric Dragon Strike! Tian Chui roared and used the same move again. He swung his giant hammer and spun it wildly. However, this time, the sword light did not disperse. Instead, it pierced through Tian Chui's attack and continued to stab towards him. Puff! Puff! A few more wounds appeared on Tian Chui's body. What's going on? Why can't we attack him? Some disciples of the Dragon God Valley asked anxiously. Tian Chui's attack was too strange. Tian Chui's attack could not hit him. It's not that he can't hit him. It's just that he can turn into a shadow, which can greatly reduce the damage done to him. Tian Chui's attack was weakened when it landed on his body. At the same time, he's too fast. Most of the attacks were dodged by him. A genius of the rank 9 Martial King realm explained on the spectator stand. Roar! Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. He took a step forward and rushed to the side of the fighting stage. It seemed that he was going to rush down the fighting stage. If you want to rush to the fighting stage, stay here. Wan Ying's cold voice came from the sky. Tian Chui pretended not to hear it and continued to rush forward. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light pierced towards Tian Chui from behind. Tian Chui, who was rushing forward, suddenly stopped and turned around. Poochie! The sword light pierced through Tian Chui's chest. Blood splattered everywhere. Die! A cold voice sounded. Wan Ying's figure appeared in front of Tian Chui. Roar! At this moment, Tian Chui let out a dragon roar. A giant barbaric dragon shadow appeared on his body. The barbaric dragon shadow clawed at Wan Ying. Oh no! Chapter 1538. Bam! The barbaric dragon clawed at Wan Ying's body. Wan Ying groaned as he was sent flying, spitting out blood. Kill! Tian Chui roared as he hurled the huge hammer in his hand. Like a meteor, it smashed into Wan Ying, who was in the air. Wan Ying screamed as his body was sent flying. The giant hammer carried Wan Ying out of the stage and landed heavily on the ground. Wan Ying spat out blood, his face as pale as paper. Wan Ying lost because Tian Chui was still on the stage. Whoosh! The giant hammer flew back to the stage and landed in Tian Chui's hand. Puff! Tian Chui's body shook as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he had defeated Wan Ying, he was heavily injured as well. Senior brother Tian Chui, come up and treat your injuries! Lu Ming shouted. Tian Chui channeled his true yuan and rushed up to the stage. He sat down cross-legged and started to treat his injuries. Just now, he had been injured by Wan Ying's sword multiple times. In the end, the sword had pierced through his heart. The terrifying destruction sword Qi was constantly destroying Tian Chui's spiritual body. Tian Chui had to destroy the destruction sword Qi first before he could heal. Damn it! The leader of the Heavenly God sect shouted angrily on the stage. Originally, he thought that with Wan Ying's strength and the fact that he could counter Tian Chui, he would be able to defeat Tian Chui. Although he might not be able to kill Tian Chui, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. He didn't think that Tian Chui would defeat Wan Ying in a way where both sides were injured. His plan was foiled. As a result, 2 of the 3 top experts of the Heavenly God sect had been defeated. Only the leader was left. This made the faces of the Heavenly God sect very ugly. The Heavenly Divinity sect had already announced that they would also take first place in the Treasure Ding Ding Party and achieve 3 consecutive championships. But now, there was only one top expert left, the leader. The other 6th-level experts had almost all been killed, so there was no chance for them to take first place. This was all because of the Dragon God Valley. They wanted to deal with the Dragon God Valley, but in the end, they got themselves into trouble. Before the competition started, the Heavenly God sect probably didn't expect this. I'll leave the rest to you guys. The leader of the Heavenly God sect looked at the Sky Demon sect. Whoosh! A figure rushed out from the Sky Universe Demon sect, carrying a demon's saber on his back. It's Mo Xian! Someone recognized this person. There were 2 geniuses from the Sky Universe Demon sect who had reached the peak of the 6th layer martial royal realm with a superior Earth's spiritual body. One of them was Mo, and the other was Mo Xian. And Mo Xian looked at Xuanixin and said, "I challenge you." Many people were shocked. Indeed, the Celestial Sect, the Empyrean Demon Sect, and the Poison Sect had sent out their strongest forces to deal with the Dragon God Valley. Xuanixin stepped onto the fighting ring. "Kill!" The demonic saber was unsheathed, and demonic energy soared to the sky. "Roar!" Xuanixin revealed her true form and turned into a snow dragon. The two sides clashed fiercely. This battle was different from the one between Skyhammer and Wanning. This battle was a head-on clash, and it was exceptionally fierce. Xuanixin was a pure-blooded true dragon, and she was considered a genius even among true dragons. Her dragon body was as strong as a superior Earth spiritual body, and she was evenly matched with Mo Xian. The two sides exchanged more than 200 blows, and in the end, Xuanixin won by a little and knocked Mo Xian off the fighting ring. However, Xuanixin was severely injured, and her injuries were even worse than Skyhammer's. Xuanixin dragged her injured body back to the fighting ring and began to heal. The Dragon God Valley had won another battle, defeating a top expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect. Could it be that the Dragon God Valley was going to be the last one? Some people had such thoughts. The challenges continued, and soon, it was the Poison Sect's turn. Whoosh! Wu Qiandu of the Poison Sect stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. The Poison Sect also had two top experts. Wu Qiandu was the leader of the Poison Sect, and he was going to fight personally this time. Wu Qiandu's gaze shifted between Han Sun and Lu Ming. According to the rules, Skyhammer and Xuanixin had just fought, so they couldn't challenge them now. Only by challenging Lu Ming and Han Sun could they challenge Skyhammer and Xuanixin. In the end, Wu Qiandu's gaze landed on Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you managed to escape with your sacred weapon the last time. Now come down and accept your death," Wu Qiandu said coldly. Last time, Lu Ming had used his black wings to create a gust of wind that rendered his poison gas useless. Now that he couldn't use his sacred weapon, he wanted to see how Lu Ming would defend against his poison gas. "Another one who wants to die!" Lu Ming smiled indifferently. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Wang! As soon as Lu Ming's feet landed, Wu Qiandu took action. Densely packed poisonous insects swarmed toward Lu Ming, covering the sky and the sun like a mass of dark clouds. Wang! Lu Ming's chaotic domain spread out and shrouded the endless poisonous insects. "Fire!" Lu Ming whispered, and the chaotic domain turned into a flame domain. The flames engulfed the insects, and sizzling sounds could be heard as the insects were burned to ashes. But at this time, Wu Qiandu waved his hand and toads appeared. Each toad was covered in pustules and emitted a foul smell. They pounced toward Lu Ming. In the air, the toads spat out poisonous water that enveloped Lu Ming. When the poisonous water landed on the chaotic domain, it actually emitted a sizzling sound of corrosion. "Kill!" At the same time, Wu Qiandu charged toward Lu Ming. A soft whip appeared in his hand. The whip was covered with poisonous thorns and it swept toward Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming used the hell-suppressing heaven skill and punched out continuously, bombarding the toads and soft whips. However, when Lu Ming's fist force bombarded those toads, they actually self-exploded and turned into a pool of thick water that gushed toward Lu Ming, emitting a disgusting stench. Once he smelled this stench, Lu Ming felt slightly dizzy. Circulating his true yuan, he regained consciousness. "What a terrifying poison!" Lu Ming thought. Shwa! Shwa! Poisonous insects kept gushing out of Wu Qiandu's body. Next, there were toads and poisonous snakes that attacked Lu Ming. As for himself, he controlled the soft whip and was extremely agile as he whipped Lu Ming. "Kill!" Lu Ming suddenly shouted and used the divine sword art. Two black sword lights burst out from Lu Ming's eyes and rushed toward Wu Qiandu. But at this time, a layer of poisonous insects appeared on the surface of Wu Qiandu's body, forming a shield. The divine sword art attacked the poisonous insects and killed a large number of them, but Wu Qiandu was unharmed. Soul attacks can ignore ordinary defenses and attack the soul. However, these insects of mine have spirits. With spirits, your soul attacks won't be able to penetrate them. Last time, you used it once. This time, I'm prepared. Hee hee. Wu Qiandu sneered. It seems that soul attacks are not omnipotent. There are still weaknesses. Chapter 1539. Soul attacks were something that ordinary defenses would not be able to defend against, and they would be able to pierce right through. When facing the evil spirit sex elder Mohan, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain and Bubble's space-time domain could only weaken a portion of the attack. One could imagine that normal defenses would be useless. However, soul attacks also had their weaknesses. If a living being stood in front of them, the soul attack would not be able to pass through. For example, Wu Qiandu had used poisonous insects to block in front of him. Although the poisonous insects were small, they were still sentient and had souls. Soul attacks would attack the poisonous insects, and Wu Qiandu, who was behind the poisonous insects, was naturally unharmed. He dared to challenge Lu Ming because he had a foolproof plan. However, Lu Ming's expression was still calm. If soul attacks were useless, would Lu Ming not be able to deal with Wu Qiandu? Whoosh! Lu Ming covered his body with the primal chaos domain and soared into the sky. Boom! 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 Following which, Lu Ming looked down from a high vantage point and threw continuous punches with his fists. Streaks of terrifying fist energy shot out like meteors towards Wu Qiandu, the poisonous insects, and the poisonous snakes. A large number of poisonous insects and toads were killed. The battle stage was littered with the corpses of insects, toads, and snakes. Pools of venom covered the battle stage, emitting a disgusting stench. Wisps of poisonous gas filled the battle stage. Haha, Lu Ming, thank you for your cooperation. The poison array has been set up. Now you can die. On the battle stage, Wu Qiandu smiled coldly. Green poisonous gas spread out from his body and merged with the poisonous gas on the battle stage. The entire battle stage was shrouded in poisonous gas. 1,000 poison hands, Wu Qiandu said coldly. The poisonous gas rolled and turned into poisonous palms that shot toward Lu Ming in the sky. Lu Ming used the wind origin technique to avoid the poisonous palms. In that case, I'll kill you first. In Lu Ming's hand, a Spirit King's spear appeared. He became one with the spear and dived down, charging into the poison gas array and attacking Wu Qiandu. You can't kill me! Wu Qiandu let out a cold laugh. With a bang, his body exploded and turned into clouds of poisonous gas, which merged with the poisonous gas of the formation. Lu Ming's long spear swept out horizontally, the poisonous gas tumbling endlessly. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and a formless soul attack erupted. However, there were countless poisonous insects flying within the poisonous gas. Lu Ming shouted, and a group of poisonous insects fell to the ground. Hee hee, Lu Ming, you can't hurt me at all. You can only passively let me kill you. Wu Qiandu's proud voice rang out. The poison gas array churned, constantly surging towards Lu Ming. The terrifying poison gas enveloped Lu Ming, as if it wanted to corrode the primal chaos domain and then turn Lu Ming to ashes. Moreover, the poison gas would condense into attacks and attack Lu Ming. The long spear vibrated, destroying the attacks one by one. Lu Ming, rush down the fighting stage yourself, or be killed by me. Wu Qiandu's cold voice rang out. You think too highly of yourself, Lu Ming said indifferently. If Lu Ming wanted to kill Wu Qiandu, he could do it now. He just needed to cast the chaotic flipping sky seal. The terrifying power of the chaotic flipping sky seal could directly cover the entire fighting ring. He could easily destroy this array and even kill Wu Qiandu. However, now was not the time to use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming wanted to save the primal chaos flipping sky seal to deal with the leader of the celestial god sect, or Emohi. If he did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal, he would have to use other methods. Buzz! Lu Ming's primal chaos domain suddenly spread out, enveloping the entire fighting stage. Then, endless lightning appeared and filled the fighting stage, followed by flames. the entire fighting stage was enveloped by the power of lightning and fire. Chi-chi, poisonous insects were burned to death one by one. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming continued to roar as he used the divine sword art, forming invisible waves that rushed out in all directions. A large number of poisonous insects were killed and turned into ashes in the lightning and fire. I don't believe that your soul power can keep on erupting. Wu Qiandu's voice rang out. There was a limit to a person's spiritual strength. Constantly using it would consume a lot of spiritual strength. However, after a while, Wu Qiandu became nervous. Lu Ming still did not stop. His soul attack continued to erupt, killing almost all of the poisonous insects. Kill! Lu Ming roared as the poisonous gas churned and Wu Qiandu's screams rang out. A cloud of mist gathered and churned, as if it was about to condense into a human form. Devour! Lu Ming took a step forward and pressed his left palm in the air. The devouring power erupted and enveloped the poisonous gas. Wisps of poisonous gas were devoured and refined by Lu Ming. The poisonous gas was terrifying. However, Lu Ming's spiritual body had reached the superior Earth's spiritual body. Moreover, Lu Ming's spiritual body contained traces of primal chaos qi, which was stronger than an ordinary superior Earth's spiritual body. Hence, he was not afraid of the poisonous gas. Roar! Lu Ming's body faintly rang out with the dragon's roar. Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was being refined continuously. Ah, how can this be? My spiritual body is invincible. How can you refine it? Wu Qiandu's terrified screams rang out from the poisonous gas as he desperately resisted. Kill! Lu Ming roared as 2 rays of sword light shot out from his eyes and pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed and his resistance weakened instantly. Lu Ming continued to erupt with his devouring power, devouring and refining Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas. As Wu Qiandu screamed, the poisonous gas became smaller and smaller. He wanted to reform his body, but Lu Ming directly attacked. With a punch, he turned back into poisonous gas and was devoured by Lu Ming. Soon, Wu Qiandu's poisonous gas was reduced by more than half. Spare me! Spare me! Wu Qiandu was finally afraid and began to beg for mercy. This feeling of watching himself being refined made him extremely terrified. Moreover, he did not want to die. He had a great future. With his talent, he was very confident that he could break through to the Saint Realm in the future. A Saint Realm expert had a lifespan of more than 100,000 years. How free and unfettered was that? The people from the 13 sects were shocked. Wu Qiandu was actually forced to this step by Lu Ming? In the eyes of these geniuses, Wu Qiandu was definitely a terrifying existence. His 1,000-bathing poison body and his poisonous body made everyone wary. Even those geniuses who were at the same level as him were extremely wary of him. But now, he was begging for mercy in front of Lu Ming. Spare you? Previously you sent people from the Desire Poison sect to kill my disciples. Why didn't you spare them? Why didn't you think about the current situation? Lu Ming said coldly as his devouring power continued to devour Wu Qiandu. Wu Qiandu screamed as his poisonous gas churned. Before the battle with Lu Ming, how could he have thought of such an outcome? All he thought about was how to kill Lu Ming. Chapter 1540. Young man, don't go overboard. Don't go overboard. At this moment, an old voice came from one of the pavilions. Judging from the direction of the voice, it should be the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. Hee, are you heartbroken? Why didn't you think about it when you killed my disciple? Lu Ming, you don't have to pay attention to this old man. The voice of the Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley came from the pavilion behind the Dragon God Valley. Young man, you should think about it. After all, you'll be traveling outside in the future. It's not good to go overboard. The Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect continued. Despicable! How dare you threaten my disciple? The Saint State Elder of the Dragon God Valley said. Hee. The Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect sneered. Kill! However, Lu Ming's response was only one word: kill. Lu Ming's eyes emitted two beams of sword gleams that pierced into the poisonous gas. Wu Qiandu screamed miserably. The ball of poisonous gas completely collapsed, and there was no sign of life left. Wu Qiandu was dead. This was Lu Ming's response to the Saint State Elder of the Desire Poison sect. He was strong and merciless. At this moment, there was no sound from the pavilion behind the Desire Poison sect, but a cold murderous intent filled the air. Of course, the Saint State Elders were not allowed to interfere in this situation. Otherwise, the other sects would gang up on them. Dead? Wu Qiandu was dead. Most of the people present felt their hearts tremble. Another top-notch prodigy was killed by Lu Ming. In addition to Mo, there were already two top-notch prodigies who had died in Lu Ming's hands. It was too tragic. In the past, very few top-earth spiritual bodies were killed. Even if there was a difference in combat power, it wouldn't be too big. It was possible to defeat them, but difficult to kill them. This time, it was only the 20th round, but two top prodigies had already died and several others were seriously injured. Because of Lu Ming, the small meeting this time was several times more tragic than the past. Lu Ming put away Wu Qiandu's storage ring and returned to the platform. Then, someone went up to the fighting ring and cleaned it up. After all, the poisonous insects and snakes that Wu Qiandu had released earlier were all poisonous substances on the battle stage. On the platform of the Celestial God sect, the leader of the Celestial God sect looked at Tian Chui and Xuanixin coldly. "This guy wants to challenge Tian Chui and Xuanixin in the next round," Lu Ming said. Right now, Tian Chui and Xuanixin were both heavily injured. If the leader of the Sky God sect challenged them, it would be very dangerous. The leader of the Sky God sect obviously wanted to seize the opportunity to kill Tian Chui or Xuanixin. "I won't let him succeed," Han Sun spoke, his killing intent cold. After cleaning up, the competition continued. Perhaps the atmosphere had been stirred up, but when it was the turn of the other sects, the atmosphere became even more intense. The other sects that had enmity with each other also began to send out their top experts to challenge the top experts of their enemy sections. After the battle between Lu Ming and Wu Qiandu, there were two more clashes between the top experts. In the end, the top geniuses of the Intentionless Saber sect and the Demon Castle both suffered heavy injuries and fell off the fighting ring. On the other hand, the top expert of the Linglong Palace defeated his opponent, and won despite being heavily injured. Soon, it was the Divine Dragon Valley's turn. Han Sun stood up and stepped out onto the fighting ring. "Yu Xing, come down!" Han Sun said coldly. Yu Xing was the name of the leader of the Sky God sect. Everyone was shocked. Han Sun was challenging Yu Xing. The leaders of the two sects were about to clash. Yu Xing's eyes turned cold. His original plan was to wait until the next round, when it was the Sky God sect's turn to challenge, and then he would personally kill Tian Chui or Xuanixin. Obviously, Han Sun had seen through his plan and challenged him directly. Yu Xing stepped out and landed on the fighting ring. "It's the same if I kill you first," Yu Xing said coldly. His body erupted with dazzling holy light. His entire person was bathed in the holy light, and there was no speck of dust. Yu Xing was a direct descendant of the Sky God sect, and he cultivated the Sky God sect's techniques. "Shameless boasting!" Han Sun sneered, and a terrifying cold air burst out from his body. The cold air spread in all directions, and half of the fighting ring was covered in white frost. Boom! Boom! Yu Xing and Han Sun charged at each other at the same time, and a fierce battle broke out. The two figures clashed continuously on the fighting ring, and their speed became faster and faster. Some of the weaker cultivators could no longer see the two figures clearly. They could only see the endless sacred light and the terrifying cold air on the fighting ring, forming a pillar of qi that shot up into the sky. Whoosh! Yu Xing was bathed in the sacred light, and he held the god's punishment spear in his hand. He was like a god descending to punish the world. White dragon scales appeared on Han Sun's body, and his body was covered in a layer of ice armor. His arms turned into dragon claws, and they were terrifying. Clang! Clang! The dragon claws and the god's punishment spear clashed fiercely. Pucci! Han Sun's shoulder was pierced by the god's punishment spear, but Han Sun's other dragon claw clawed at Yuxing's chest, almost tearing his heart out. The two of them were injured at the same time, and their clothes were stained with blood. But the battle continued. To be honest, Han Sun and Yuxing's combat strength was terrifying, and they were even stronger than Bai Mo's. It could be said that in the future, they were very likely to be ranked among the top 10 geniuses of the Tsang state. After all, the top 10 geniuses were chosen by the younger generation below the Saint realm. Once this year's top 10 geniuses broke into the Saint realm, they would automatically be removed from the top 10 geniuses, and new geniuses would replace them. It could be said that these two geniuses of the future were fighting in advance. This battle went on for more than 300 moves, and their genuine essence and physical strength were gradually exhausted. In the end, it became a hand-to-hand fight. The two of them tangled together, and blood stained the fighting ring. Bang! In the end, the two of them rolled off the fighting ring at the same time, and the battle ended. Lu Ming moved and appeared beside Han Sun. His genuine essence flowed into Han Sun's body, and he said, "Senior brother Han Sun, are you okay?" "Don't worry, I'm fine." "That guy is worse." Han Sun smiled. "Humph!" Yuxing snorted, and with the help of the disciples of the Celestial God sect, he landed on the spectator stand, took a healing pill, and began to heal. Lu Ming helped Han Sun to the spectator stand behind the fighting ring, and then returned to the fighting ring. In this way, there were only 3 people left in the Dragon God Valley. However, the people of the Celestial God sect all looked gloomy. After Yuxing's withdrawal, the Celestial God sect no longer had any top experts, and it was a joke to get first place. The battle continued, and soon, this round was over, and the 22nd round began. In this round, the remaining disciples of the Celestial God sect had lost their morale, and they randomly sent out one person to challenge the other sections. After that, it was the turn of the Sky Universe Demon sect. "Let me!" Emohi from the Sky Universe Demon sect stepped out with a demonic blade on his back. He landed on the fighting ring and looked directly at the Dragon God Valley. He glanced at Tian Chui and Xuanixing. Chapter 1541. Emohi obviously wanted to challenge Tian Chui and Xuanixing. In the end, Emohi's eyes fell on Xuanixing and said coldly, "Come out! Fight!" Xuanixing said and stepped forward. "Senior sister, be careful," Lu Ming said. Xuanixing nodded and stepped onto the battle stage. "I'll kill you in this battle!" Emohi's demonic aura surged as the demonic saber on his back unsheathed and slashed toward Xuanixing. "Roar!" Xuanixing roared and turned into her true form. She opened her mouth and spat out a stream of icy air toward the saber. Boom! An intense collision occurred, and Xuanixing's slender body trembled as she retreated. Xuanixing had been severely injured in the previous battle, and it was impossible for her to recover in such a short time. She was at a disadvantage from the start. Demonic Saber Division! The demonic saber in Emohi's hand merged with his domain and slashed out again. The demonic saber division was the ultimate technique of the Sky Universe demonic sect. It was said to be able to split everything with a single slash. Snowflakes appeared around Xuanixing and flew toward the demonic splitting saber with a whistling sound. But when the snowflakes came into contact with the demonic saber division, they seemed to be affected by a terrifying vibration and exploded. Clang! 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 The snowflakes collided with the demonic saber, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. The snowflakes collapsed, but the power of the demonic saber was also rapidly weakening. Slash! Emohi's demonic aura surged as he slashed out again. Then, he slashed out again. One slash after another, and each slash was extremely terrifying. It was as if they were going to split the sky. Xuanixing's dragon claws stepped on the air and pounced toward Emohi. Boom! Boom! Terrifying explosions were constantly heard as the two of them exchanged more than 10 blows. Gradually, Xuanixing was losing. Her injuries were acting up, and she couldn't use her full strength. Poochie! Dragon scales were cut and fell everywhere. Deep and long wounds appeared on Xuanixin's body, and blood dyed her snow-white body red. Die! Emohi's devil saber pierced through Xuanixin's attack and slashed at her head, trying to decapitate her. Xuanixin retreated quickly, but it was still too late. A wound was left between her eyebrows. Xuanixin was already heavily injured, and now that she was injured, her battle prowess was getting weaker and weaker. She was no match for Emohi. "Senior sister, get off the battle stage," Lu Ming said to Xuanixin telepathically. If this went on, Xuanixin would be in danger. "Roar!" Xuanixin shouted. She was unwilling to give up. After exchanging another blow with Emohi, she turned around and left. "You want to leave? Stay!" Emohi's demonic chi became even more terrifying. She soared into the sky and slashed out with her demonic saber. 8 saber lights slashed down, blocking Xuanixin's path. Xuanixin's dragon claws stomped on the ground, and the ground was instantly covered in a layer of ice. Ice swords rushed out and rushed towards the demonic sabers. Bang! Bang! Unfortunately, Xuanixin's battle prowess was too weak to break through the demonic sabers. Instead, the demonic sabers left a deep wound on her body, almost cutting off one of her dragon claws. "You can't escape. Demonic dragon seal!" Emohi said coldly. His hands formed a seal, and a black demonic dragon roared and flew towards Xuanixin. The 2 dragons, one black and one white, fought on the battle stage. Then, Emohi split the demonic saber and attacked Xuanixin. After a few moves, Xuanixin's injuries were even more severe. "Break!" In the end, Xuanixin roared. Her true dragon body shrank rapidly, and a layer of ice covered her body, making her look like an ice sword. Whoosh! The ice sword kept colliding with Emohi's demonic saber. Finally, it rushed out of the range of the demonic saber and reached the edge of the battle stage. At this time, the ice covering Xuanixin's body also collapsed. Xuanixin's aura became even weaker. She stomped her dragon claws and rushed out of the battle stage. She let out a sigh of relief and quickly withdrew her aura. "Die!" Emohi roared and stood at the edge of the battle stage. His eyes were ferocious and filled with cold killing intent. He slashed his demonic saber at Xuanixin's head. Xuanixin's fall meant that the battle was over, so she completely let down her guard and withdrew her true yuan. She didn't expect Emohi to be so despicable and attack her again. Xuanixin didn't have time to dodge this attack. "You're courting death!" On the platform, Lu Ming let out a roar and his true essence boiled. The black wings on his back suddenly extended. With a flap, he appeared next to Xuanixin and flapped the demonic saber. "Lu Ming, what are you doing? You interfered and used a saint weapon. You broke the rules." Seeing that his saber had been blocked by Lu Ming, there was a look of indignation in Emohi's eyes. "Shut up! Who broke the rules? My senior sister has already rushed out of the battle stage and landed on the ground. She lost. This battle is over, but you still want to kill her. Are you the one who broke the rules, or am I the one who broke the rules?" Lu Ming stared coldly at Emohi. If he hadn't been watching the battle stage and immediately used a saint weapon to rush out, Xuanixin would have been in danger. "Oh? Her foot landed on the ground? I didn't see it," Emohi quibbled. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He only stared at Emohi with cold killing intent. He had to kill this Emohi. "Senior sister, let's go!" Lu Ming helped Xuanixin to the spectator stand. "Junior brother, thank you for just now." Xuanixin had returned to her human form, but her face was somewhat pale. "Senior sister, there's no need to be so polite. I will kill Emohi to avenge you," Lu Ming said. "I believe in Junior brother." Xuanixin smiled. She swallowed a healing elixir and began to recuperate while Lu Ming returned to the platform. The challenges continued. As expected, when it was the Desire Poison sect's turn, an expert from the Desire Poison sect challenged Tian Chui. Like the Sky Demon sect, the Desire Poison sect also had two top experts. Wu Qiandu had been killed by Lu Ming, so there was only one left. The Desire Poison sect hated Lu Ming to the core and wanted to kill Tian Chui to avenge Wu Qiandu. However, Tian Chui's injuries were better than Xuanixin's. Moreover, Tian Chui cultivated the barbarian dragon body, so his defense was strong. However, Tian Chui was injured and couldn't defeat his opponent. After exchanging more than 100 blows, he was knocked off the stage. With Tian Chui's defeat, only Lu Ming was left in the Dragon God Valley. Countless gazes landed on the platform of the Divine Dragon Valley and on Lu Ming alone. Chapter 1542. The challenges continued, and they were very intense. Now, the competition had entered the second half, and the weak had been eliminated. The remaining people were all very strong, and the battles were very intense. One battle after another, it was finally Dragon God Valley's turn. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the fighting stage. "Mo-he, come down and die!" Lu Ming's voice resounded throughout the area. As expected, Lu Ming is going to challenge Mo-he. In many people's hearts, Mo-he had violated the rules earlier and almost killed Xuanixin. Many people guessed that Lu Ming would definitely challenge Mo-he. Mo-he carried the demonic saber on his back and stepped onto the fighting stage. "You've managed to escape the previous 2 times. Today, I'll finish you off!" Mo-he spoke. Even though Lu Ming had already killed 2 top-notch powerhouses, he was still very domineering. "Today, you won't have any chance. You will die without a doubt," Lu Ming said, and he was also very strong. Buzz! Buzz! The two stood facing each other, and their domains burst out at the same time, rushing toward each other. Boom! Their domains collided with each other, and there was a loud rumbling sound. They were fiercely fighting. Mo-he's demonic Dao domain was at the peak of LV7, while Lu Ming's domain was only at the peak of LV4. However, Lu Ming's domain was not at a disadvantage at all. Their domains continued to clash and entangle with each other, stirring up a terrifying energy storm. "Kill, demonic saber division!" Mo-he shouted and unsheathed his demonic saber. A shocking saber light broke through the sky and slashed toward Lu Ming. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he used the 13th strike. A spear light burst out and collided with the demonic saber. There were 13 forces in the spear light, and they exploded with a terrible penetrating power. However, there was a terrible splitting power in the demonic saber that was rapidly splitting the spear light's power. In the end, the 2 forces dissipated. Lu Ming's eyes moved slightly. The demonic saber of the Sky Universe Demon sect was indeed worthy of its reputation. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, the 2 of them rushed forward and collided with each other like 2 bolts of lightning. The demonic saber and the long spear collided with each other, emitting a terrifying roar. Every time the 2 of them collided, a terrifying shockwave would erupt. The shockwave was rampant and swept out in all directions. Around the fighting stage, there was a transparent light screen that blocked the overflowing qi. Otherwise, some of the weaker people in the spectator stands would have been injured. "Kill!" After exchanging several moves, Lu Ming roared. 2 divine swords shot out of his eyes, shooting toward Mo-he. Lu Ming used the divine sword art, and 2 pitch-black swords entered Mo-he's body and attacked his spiritual divinity. However, Mo's body only trembled slightly, and he was fine. "A spiritual god defensive treasure!" Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your soul attack is useless against me," Mo-he sneered. His demonic saber swept out, taking advantage of this opportunity to attack Lu Ming. 1. Lu Ming's long spear shook, blocking the Devil Blade's attack. Then, the 2 of them clashed again, exchanging dozens of moves. In truth, Mo-he was indeed very strong. He was even stronger than Bai Mo and Wu Qiandu, who Lu Ming had just killed. He should be comparable to Han Sun, the leader of the Celestial God sect. Lu Ming's spiritual body and primal chaos domain gave him a slight advantage. However, Mo-he's cultivation was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. The two of them fought fiercely, and it was difficult to determine a victor. Third bloodline! With a thought, Lu Ming's third bloodline appeared. A strand of energy entered Lu Ming's body, increasing Lu Ming's combat strength. Clang! Lu Ming's long spear swept out, and Mohe's body trembled. He was forced back a long distance along the fighting stage. Divine Gate, 9 seals! Lu Ming's hands quickly formed seals, and 6 sealing gates appeared around Mohe, wanting to seal him. Demon God descends! Mohe roared. Demonic chi surged, and a huge demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms condensed around him. It exuded a vast demonic aura. This was a secret technique, or rather, it was a secret technique brought by Mohe's spiritual body. It was very similar to Bai Mo's sword array. They were both secret techniques brought by spiritual bodies. Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon god blasted out 6 palms, bombarding the 6 sealing gates. Boom! Boom! The 6 sealed doors trembled and directly exploded. At this time, Lu Ming's attack had arrived. The long spear smashed towards Mohe like a mountain. Boom! Boom! The 3-headed, 6-armed demon god's 6 giant palms bombarded Lu Ming. 2 of them blocked Lu Ming's long spear, while the other 4 palms pressed down on Lu Ming like 4 mountains. Lu Ming's long spear shook, turning into layers of spear shadows, and blasted out. The long spear collided with the demon palms. In the violent explosion, Lu Ming and Mohe's bodies were both pushed back. This brat, how long has it been? He has such combat strength. He must be eliminated. Mohe was shocked. Back when he led people to hunt down Lu Ming did not have much strength to resist in front of him. But now, Lu Ming could fight him head-on, and it was difficult to tell who would win. In a while, what realm would Lu Ming reach? Wouldn't he surpass him in all aspects? Thinking of this, he felt a chill in his heart. He and Lu Ming were already mortal enemies. If they met in the future, they would definitely fight fiercely. One of them had to die. But in a while, he was afraid that if he met Lu Ming again, he would be the one to die. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming now. Kill! Kill! Mohe roared. His demonic chi seemed to burn, and the huge demonic gods seemed to become corporeal. Shockingly, 6 huge demonic sabers appeared on the demonic god's 6 arms. Boom! Boom! Mohe took a step forward and charged at Lu Ming. The huge demonic god brandished its demonic sabers and charged at Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. The power of his third bloodline continuously poured into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's killing intent to become even stronger. At the same time, devouring power burst out and enveloped Mohe, causing his demonic chi to become unstable. The demonic god's aura also weakened. Lu Ming took a step forward and soared into the sky. His long spear turned into a 1,000-meter-long spear light that smashed toward Mohe. Mohe's eyes were ferocious. He also used all his strength. The huge demonic god and the 6 demonic sabers continuously slashed at Lu Ming. The two collided fiercely. Spear light and saber light soared into the sky. Everyone, whether they were on the platform or in the spectator stands, held their breaths and stared at the fighting ring. They were afraid that they would miss the exciting scene. What strong combat strength! He can unleash such terrifying combat strength when he's below the 7th martial royal realm. I'm afraid that even the 8th martial royal realm would be killed by him. A genius above the 7th martial royal realm said with a serious look. They're all peerless geniuses. In the future they have great hopes of becoming the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang prefecture. That's right. I wonder who will win this battle? Chapter 1543. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Mohe had exchanged dozens of blows. At this time, the demon god that Mohe had condensed began to tremble. Clearly, maintaining this demon god was taxing on Mohe's true chi. Moreover, Lu Ming was constantly releasing his devouring power. Mohe could feel that his demonic chi was constantly being devoured by Lu Ming. This made his demonic chi even more difficult to sustain. Seal! At this time, Lu Ming used the sealed doors again. The 6 sealed doors shone brightly and suppressed the demon god. This time, the demon god was finally unable to break through the sealed doors and his movements became stiff. Boom! Lu Ming seized the opportunity. His long spear turned into a huge spear light and smashed heavily on the demon god's head. 13 different powers instantly superimposed and exploded. He roared, and the head of the demonic god exploded. Then, the body of the demonic god exploded as well. In an instant, the demon god's entire body exploded. He's body shook violently, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale. Retreat! He gritted his teeth and flew back. He knew that he had lost today. He was no match for Lu Ming. Now, he had to rush down the fighting stage. You can't escape. Seal! Lu Ming said coldly. 6 sealed doors appeared in front of He, blocking his way. He slashed out with his demonic saber continuously, but he couldn't break through the sealed doors. At this time, Lu Ming had already put away his long spear. He was holding a large seal in one hand. Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Now, Lu Ming had cultivated the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal to the peak of the 3rd level. While its power was increasing, he was also becoming more proficient in using it. When he used the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, he didn't need to use it at once like before. The consumption of true Qi was terrifying. Now, he could control the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal. By reducing the power of the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal, he could save a lot of vital essence and control it more smoothly. For example, the seal that Lu Ming was holding in his hand was the Chaotic Flipping Sky Seal that he had condensed. It had about 50% of its full power. However, if Lu Ming had used his full power, he would not have been able to hold it in his hand and control it to such an extent. With 50% of its power, it would be much easier for Lu Ming to control it. Boom! Lu Ming waved his hand and the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed towards He. Even with 50% of his full power, his attack power was still terrifyingly strong, surpassing the power of Lu Ming's 13 strikes of storing power. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal was like an ancient divine mountain as it smashed towards He. The vast power and shocking aura caused He's face to change drastically. He roared and turned around to block. His demonic saber slashed out continuously, hoping to block the attack. Boom! The splitting demonic saber slashed at the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. Not only did it not split the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal, but the demonic saber itself was shattered by the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal continued to smash down. In the end, He used his demonic saber to block in front of him. An Emperor's spiritual weapon armor appeared on his body. Together with the domain, it blocked in front of him. Boom! The Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal smashed down heavily. He's body shook violently as he retreated frantically. His face was pale as he vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His hands that were holding his saber were trembling non-stop. The bones in his wrists had been broken. He had paid such a heavy price to block the Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal. However, there was a loud rumbling sound from above as another Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal came crashing down. Ah! He roared angrily as he exerted all his strength to defend himself. Bang! This time, Mo fell to his knees and coughed up a mouthful of blood. His arms exploded, and his demonic saber flew far away. As for He's body, even with the protection of his ruler armor, he was unable to withstand all of the power. The frightening power shattered many of He's bones. Hehowever, to He's despair, the 3rd Primal Chaos Flipping Sky Seal came crashing down on him. No! This time, He roared in despair. This time, he would not be able to block it. If he could not block it, he would die. Come out! He roared as a small black pagoda flew out from between his eyebrows. A vast aura emanated from it. A sacred weapon! This small pagoda was a sacred weapon. 1. The sacred weapon expanded rapidly and collided with the primal chaos flipping sky seal. The small black pagoda was sent flying. He vomited blood again as he rolled on the fighting ring, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. He broke the rules by using a sacred weapon. Use a sacred weapon and kill him! The disciples of Dragon God Valley roared. Whoosh! The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley stepped out from the pavilion behind Dragon God Valley. His eyes were cold as he said, "Using a sacred weapon on the fighting ring will result in death." The Sage Realm Elder struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print pressed down on Emohi. "What are you doing?" An elder rushed out from the pavilion behind the Empyrean demon sect. He struck out with his palm, sending out a blade light that shattered the Saint Realm Elder's palm print. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked coldly at the Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect and said, "Before the battle began, I already announced that anyone who uses a sacred weapon will be killed. Are you trying to stop me? Elder, save me!" Emohi screamed in horror. The Saint Realm Elder of Empyrean demon sect frowned and said, "How about we spare him this time?" "Spare him? You should ask the Taoists of the other sects if they agree." The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley sneered. Whoosh! Whoosh! Many figures stepped out from the pavilions. They were the Saint Realm Elders of the 13 sections. The rules have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. We can't break them. Since they've violated them, kill them. The Elder of Life and Death Sword faction was the first to speak. That's right. If everyone uses a sacred weapon, what's the point? How can we tell how strong the younger generation is? It's just a competition of how many sacred weapons they have. So, we must kill him. The Demon Castle Elder said. I agree. We must kill him. If he didn't use a sacred weapon, he would have been killed already. I agree. The elders of the other sects spoke one after another. Emohi's face was filled with despair. Only the elders of Celestial Divinity sect and Poison Desire sect didn't speak. No, I don't want to die. Emohi roared and turned into a ray of demonic light, about to rush into the distance. Die. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley roared and a terrifying sound wave rushed toward Emohi. Emohi's body exploded in midair. Even the sacred weapon pagoda didn't have any effect. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Is this the strength of a Saint Realm Elder? He didn't even attack. He just roared and killed Emohi. Chapter 1544. Lu Ming, this sacred weapon is your spoils of war. Keep it, the Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said. Thank you, Elder. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and kept the small pagoda sacred weapon. Of course, he also kept Emohi's storage ring. These were his spoils of war, and he did not stand on ceremony. Humph! The Elder of Sky Universe Demon Sect glanced at Lu Ming coldly before he turned around and returned to his pavilion. The other sect elders also returned to their pavilions. Lu Ming, you've done well. You've made a great contribution this time. The sect will reward you accordingly, the Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said with a smile. This made you, Blizzard's Silver City, and the others in the spectator stands jealous. Lu Ming smiled and returned to Platform 10. He sat down cross-legged and waved his hand. A large pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming devoured the origin stones and started to recover. Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy in the previous battle. He did not have much true origin left. Everyone on the spectator stands looked at Lu Ming with fear. In this small gathering, 3 top geniuses had died at the hands of Lu Ming. If Emohi had not used a sacred weapon, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Therefore, he had been killed by Lu Ming. 3 top geniuses from Heavenly God Sect, Sky Universe Demon Sect, and Poison Desire Sect. This was a great loss. In the past treasure peddling gatherings, such a situation rarely happened. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of LV4 Martial Royal Realm. It was a miracle that he had achieved such a result. In the treasure peddling gatherings, top geniuses who had reached LV6 Martial Royal Realm were extremely difficult to kill. However, this time, Lu Ming had killed 3 of them. Back then, the Divine Son's cultivation was at the peak of LV6 martial royal realm, and he had only killed 2 geniuses of this level in the treasure peddling gatherings. Now, the Divine Son was the top of the top 10 geniuses. Lu Ming had already broken the record of the Son of God. The 13 sects and forces all had different thoughts in their minds. The challenges continued. After Lu Ming's challenge, it was the turn of the Demon Castle on Platform 13 to challenge. This was because the Piyuan family on Platform 11 and the Blood Demon House on Platform 12 had already been eliminated. After the Demon Castle challenge ended, this round also came to an end. Next, it was the Heavenly Divinity sect's turn again. The Heavenly God sect's people glanced at Lu Ming with deep fear. They then sent out one person to challenge the other sections. Next, it was the Sky Universe Devil sect's turn. Although they wanted to avenge Mo, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming, so they could only challenge the other sections. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the platform, but no one dared to challenge him. Soon, it was the Desire Poison sect's turn. The Desire Poison sect still had a top genius who had defeated Tian Chui previously. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with deep fear. How would he dare to challenge Lu Ming? He sent out another person to challenge the other sections. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn again, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming. When it was Lu Ming's turn again, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. They didn't know who Lu Ming was going to challenge this time. Everyone's hearts were beating fast. Especially the Heavenly Divinity sect, the Sky Universe Devil sect, and the Desire Poison sect. Whoever was challenged by Lu Ming would be courting death. Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. After the cultivation just now, his true yuan had completely recovered. The devouring power allowed him to recover his true yuan by devouring origin stones at an astonishing speed. No one could compare to him. Lu Ming's gaze fell on the Desire Poison sect's side. He wanted to challenge the only top expert left from the Desire Poison sect. Just now, this person had challenged Tian Chui. He wouldn't let him off so easily. The Desire Poison sect's expert stepped onto the platform with an ugly expression. However, the moment he stepped onto the platform, he immediately rushed to the back. He wanted to rush off the platform. Many people were speechless. This person had a superior earth spiritual body. He was as famous as Mo He and Wu Qiandu. However, he didn't even dare to fight and wanted to rush off the platform. It was clear that this person was afraid of Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming charged towards this person. However, this person's spiritual body was a poisoned spiritual body. His vitality was extremely tenacious. Moreover, he wanted to escape and didn't want to fight. On this small platform, it was difficult for Lu Ming to kill him. In the end, his opponent successfully rushed off the platform at the cost of a certain amount of injuries. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. It was a pity. In this way, the Heavenly Divinity sect, the Sky Universe Devil sect, and the Desire Poison sect, a total of 7 top experts, were all defeated. The competition ended prematurely. There wasn't much suspense in the rest of the competition. With Lu Ming holding the fort alone, no one dared to fight him. Every time it was Lu Ming's turn, he would choose a genius from the Heavenly Divinity sect to kill. This made the geniuses on the Heavenly Divinity sect's platform extremely afraid. In the end, in order to survive, they purposely didn't fight and rushed off the platform. They even challenged the Sky Universe Devil sect and the Desire Poison sect in order to preserve more lives. The 3 sects were forced to such a state by Lu Ming alone. This was rare. After this battle, Lu Ming's name was destined to spread throughout the Tsung continent. The challenges continued. Because the Heavenly Divinity sect's method was equivalent to admitting defeat, they were the first to be defeated. This move of the Heavenly Divinity sect is really beautiful. Where did they learn it? Someone from the Dragon God Valley mocked. The Heavenly Divinity sect's disciples on the spectator stand all flushed red, but no one retorted. They didn't have the face to refute. Before the treasure pedestal meeting, the Heavenly Divinity sect had announced that they would be the champion 3 times in a row. But now, it had become a joke. If they hadn't used the correct strategy to eliminate the 3 weakest sects in advance, they might not even be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly Divinity sect was eliminated, Lu Ming targeted the Desire Poison sect. Lu Ming considered that Xian Yanqing was the saintess of the Sky Universe Devil sect, so after killing Mo he didn't continue to challenge the other disciples of the Sky Universe Devil sect. This made the disciples of the Sky Universe Devil sect heave a long sigh of relief. The Desire Poison sect was in a miserable state. They were all frightened, and in the end, they adopted the Heavenly Divinity sect's method and became the second sect to be eliminated. As the competition continued, the number of people left from each sect decreased. Even the Life and Death Sword sect only had a few people left. In this battle, the Life and Death Sword sect was the same as before. Although they had fewer people, they were all elites with terrifying combat strength. Luo Xiang also rose in this battle. With his cultivation of the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, he had killed many LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses. Gradually, one sect after another was eliminated. However, there was still one person sitting cross-legged on the 10th platform. Lu Ming. Lu Ming was the only one left in the Dragon God Valley. However, Lu Ming was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. In the end, will Lu Ming be the last to leave the Dragon God Valley in first place? Someone muttered. Many people looked at each other in dismay. If that was the case, it would be a legend that would be passed down for hundreds of years. Whoosh! A sword light flashed and Luo Xiang stepped onto the fighting stage. Lu Ming, how about we spar? Chapter 1545. Was Luo Xiang going to challenge Lu Ming? Many people were surprised and looked forward to the battle. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the biggest dark horse this time. He was only a LV4 Martial Royal Realm cultivator, but he had killed a few top earthly spiritual bodies and forced the Heavenly God sect, Poison sect, and the other sects to challenge other sects and lose on purpose. Luo Xiang was not weak either. Those who knew Luo Xiang knew that he was a terrifying person. He had stopped at the peak Martial Saint realm for 15 years to nurture his sword soul. Now, he was able to kill LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses as a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. His strength was unfathomable. Moreover, the life and death sword art was terrifying. What would happen if Luo Xiang challenged Lu Ming? Lu Ming stood up and stepped out of the fighting ring, facing Luo Xiang. Lu Ming, how about we settle this in one move? Luo Xiang said. Sure, Lu Ming said. To be honest, he had a good impression of Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang was a true sword cultivator. He was sharp, decisive, and righteous. He had his own bottom line. Previously, when the Heavenly God sect, Heavenly Universe Demon sect, and Poison sect were hunting the Dragon God Valley, Luo Xiang could not stand it anymore and killed the Heavenly God sect's experts. He was a man who lived for the sword. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. My life and death swordsmanship can determine life and death with one move. It has the meaning of I live, and you die. If you can block my move, you win, Luo Xiang warned. Give it your all. If I die under your sword, I can only blame myself for not being good enough, Lu Ming said. There was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. He wanted to see the life and death sword art that was famous in the Tsung continent. Clang! Unsheathing his battle sword, Luo Xiang's body emitted a terrifying aura that soared into the sky. At that moment, Luo Xiang seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. He was no longer a human, but a sword. However, the sword in his hand was not a sword, but a person. At that moment, Luo Xiang's sword seemed to have come alive with a soul. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt a strong pressure from Luo Xiang. It was rare to see a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator giving him such a strong pressure. Lu Ming's true essence began to circulate rapidly. The Emperor's spiritual weapon Long Spear appeared in his hand and the chaotic domain spread out. At the same time, Lu Ming's muscles and bones were wriggling slightly, ready to launch a terrifying attack at any time. Whoosh! At that moment, Luo Xiang made his move. A sword gleam cut through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. Under this sword light, the void seemed to have been pierced through. Everything in the world seemed to have lost its color. It was as if this sword light was the only thing left in the world. Terrifying, sharp, and accurate. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if there was a terrifying sword aura pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to move. In the face of this sword, it was as if he could only be killed. Roar! At this moment, there was an earth-shattering dragon roar from Lu Ming's body. The dragon roar was vast and mighty, as though a real dragon had ascended to the 9 heavens. Lu Ming's true yuan surged as he broke through the Luo Xiang's sword art. He merged with his spear and thrust forward. He had used the 13th strike of the accumulating force. The spear was covered in the chaotic domain. The sword art and the spear seemed to be the only things in the world at that moment. Clang! The spear and the sword art collided with each other like 2 meteors in the sky. A blinding light was emitted from the point of impact. It was like the sun had suddenly exploded, causing the heavens and earth to be filled with white light. Many people felt a piercing pain in their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations could not help but close their eyes. How terrifying! Who won? Those with stronger cultivations opened their eyes wide and stared at the scene before them with their true yuan. The blinding light disappeared in a flash. When it disappeared, the crowd could see a figure flying backward and landing on the fighting ring. The figure took a few steps back before coming to a stop. Luo Xiang. The one who retreated was Luo Xiang. At that moment, Luo Xiang's face was extremely pale. His hand that was holding the sword was trembling slightly. Lu Ming stood motionless. Dragon scales appeared on his body. What a terrifying sword! Lu Ming let out a long breath. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. In the moment of collision, Lu Ming's chaotic domain that covered his spear had been pierced through by Luo Xiang's sword qi. The terrifying sword qi followed the spear and broke into his body. Dragon scales appeared on his body to block the sword qi. Even so, there was still a tearing pain on the surface of his skin. From this, one could see how terrifying Luo Xiang's sword was. The life and death sword art. One sword could decide life and death. Every sword was a sword that could kill. Luo Xiang was much stronger than when he was in the Tseng Emperor's secret realm. This strength did not refer to the increase in cultivation, but the ability to fight against those of the same level. At that time, Lu Ming's spiritual body was only a low-grade earth spiritual body, but he could still defeat Luo Xiang. At that time, Luo Xiang was on the same level as Wang Jian and Shi Tian. But now, Luo Xiang could easily kill Wang Jian and Shi Tian of the same level. Spiritual body is still a mid-grade earth spiritual body, but it can release such a sword. Unbelievable! Lu Ming thought. I lost! Luo Xiang put away his sword and clasped his fists towards Lu Ming. That sword could be said to be Luo Xiang's strongest sword. If he couldn't defeat Lu Ming with that sword, he would lose. After saying that, Luo Xiang turned around and jumped off the stage. Lu Ming did not chase after him. He and Luo Xiang were originally exchanging pointers. After Luo Xiang jumped off the stage, Lu Ming turned around and returned to the platform. The challenges continued. The following battles calmed down, but there were undercurrents surging. Because more than 30 rounds had passed, there were very few people left on each platform. It was about to end. The remaining people were all experts. After a few more rounds, there were less than 10 people left on the 13 platforms. However, the remaining people were all top experts. Most of them were at the level of Bai Mo, Han Sun, and Mo. At this time, the people from the Heavenly God sect and Sky Demons sect had all been eliminated. A new round had begun. It was the Heavenly King Palace's turn to challenge. The Heavenly King Palace was very strong, not weaker than the Sky Demons sect and Poison sect. Now there were only 2 people left. Both of them were top experts. There was only one person left from the Demonic Moon sect. The leader of the Demonic Moon sect was also a top expert. There was only one person left from the 9 Heaven Sword sect, also a top expert. There was only one person left from the Linglong Palace, also a top expert. There was also one person from the Life and Death Sword faction and the Good Demon Castle. Including Lu Ming, there were a total of 8 people. There were only 8 people left. On the surface, the Heavenly King Palace was the strongest with 2 people left. However, at this time, all the platforms were silent. The 2 top experts from the Heavenly King Palace glanced at the other people, but the one who they looked at the most was Lu Ming. The powerful figures from the other sects also cast their gazes on Lu Ming. Their gazes were solemn. Chapter 1546. According to the rules, the last person standing would get 7 Imperial Jade Pills as a reward. Who wouldn't want that? But if they wanted to get the Imperial Region Pills, they would have to defeat the others. Among the 8 people present, Lu Ming was undoubtedly a mountain that everyone who wanted to get first place had to overcome. Previously, Lu Ming had already displayed his terrifying combat strength and was able to kill top experts. The other 7 people were all wary of him. No one was confident that they would be able to defeat Lu Ming alone. There was a high chance that they would be defeated. Therefore, they were extremely cautious in challenging him now. Heavenly King Palace, it's your turn. Hurry up and challenge him, the remaining Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. What's the hurry? One of the Sky Prides from the Heavenly King Palace said coldly. Everyone, all of you want to get first place, right? A youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Isn't that obvious? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. Of course. Who doesn't want to get first place? That's 7 Imperial Region Pills. Not only that, but you can also become famous in the Tsang State. The leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect said. The others nodded. That's right. We all want to get first place. But I'll be honest. With Lu Ming here, none of us can get first place. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. The others were silent. It was obvious that they agreed. Then what do you want to do? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle asked. Let's team up and take turns to defeat Lu Ming. Then we'll fight it out. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Lu Ming glanced at the 2 from the Heavenly King Palace. He wasn't too surprised. With the combat strength that he had displayed previously, he had already expected that the other sects would take turns to fight him. Just like what the youth in purple gold armor had said, if they didn't defeat him, the others wouldn't be able to get first place. However, would it be that easy to defeat him? Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile. I don't agree. There are 2 people from the Heavenly King Palace. Taking turns to fight him is beneficial to you. The Sky Prides from the Demonic Moon sect on the 4th platform sneered. Xia Sha, this is the only way. If you don't do this, I'll challenge you now. Are you confident that you can defeat me? Even if you win, how much combat strength do you have? Even if I don't challenge you now, you will challenge someone else later. Who do you think you can challenge? The Heavenly King's Palace's purple golden armored youth asked a few questions, causing the others to fall silent again. That was indeed the case. After that, every battle would be a battle of the peak. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't be injured after defeating their opponent. That would only benefit the people behind them. In the end, no one was a match for Lu Ming. They had no other choice. I agree. The Demon Castle's genius was the first to agree. His geographical position was the best, so he could take turns fighting Lu Ming. After all, it would be his turn last. After so many rounds, Lu Ming would most likely be defeated. He would be at the back and could conserve his strength. I agree too. The Linglong Palace's outstanding talent also spoke. The Linglong Palace's position was also relatively towards the back. In the end, the 9 Heaven Sword sect nodded in agreement. In the end, only Xia Sha from the Demonic Moon sect was left, and his expression was ugly. His position was only behind the Sky King Hall. After the Sky King Hall's challenge, it would be his turn. I will be the first to challenge, the purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Palace said. All right, I agree. In the end, Xie Sha also nodded in agreement. At this point, he had no other choice. Luckily, the purple golden armored youth was the first to challenge Lu Ming. At least he could exhaust some of Lu Ming's battle strength. When the time came, he might have a chance. After Xie Sha agreed, the purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Hall stepped onto the battle stage. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, how about you fight with me?" "As you wish." Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the battle stage. The purple golden armored youth's eyes were solemn as he said, "Lu Ming, how about we fight? Let's spar without killing each other. What do you think?" "Sure," Lu Ming said. He had already offended the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Poison Desire sect. He didn't want to offend any more sections. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, the purple golden armored youth heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, it was a lie to say that he wasn't afraid of Lu Ming. After all, he was the one who had suggested taking turns to fight Lu Ming. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill him in a fit of anger. He wasn't confident that he could get out of the battle stage successfully. "Be careful!" The purple golden armored youth's body emitted a purple gold light. Even his skin had turned purple gold, making him look like a heavenly king. Boom! The purple golden armored youth stepped onto the battle stage. His body was like a giant beast as he charged towards Lu Ming. He threw out a punch, causing the void to tremble. The purple golden armored youth's fist smashed towards Lu Ming. Without a doubt, he was a genius on the same level as Han Sun and Mo Hao. If it was a normal battle, even Lu Ming would have to put in a lot of effort. However, Lu Ming didn't plan to fight a normal battle with the youth. Lu Ming's hands moved at a rapid speed, like a phantom. A huge chaotic cyclic sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The chaotic cyclic sky seal wasn't at full strength. Like the previous battle with Mo Hao, it was only at 50% of its power. 50% of its power was enough. Lu Ming threw the chaotic cyclic sky seal at the purple golden armored youth. The purple golden armored youth's face changed drastically. He had seen the terrifying power of this move when Lu Ming had fought with Mo Hao. "Heavenly King Pagoda!" the purple golden armored youth roared. His purple gold body swelled and he grew taller. The purple golden armored youth's body shone brightly as he threw out both palms at the chaotic cyclic sky seal. Boom! The purple golden armored youth's palms hit the chaotic cyclic sky seal. His burly body shook violently as the purple golden armored youth's body flickered and exploded. Bam! The purple golden armored youth couldn't even stand properly. His bones creaked as he knelt down and spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom! At this time, Lu Ming started to form the chaotic cyclic sky seal again. "Wait a minute, I don't want to fight anymore!" the purple golden armored youth shouted. Then, he rushed to the side of the fighting ring and flew to the spectator's stand behind the Heavenly King's Hall to heal his injuries. Lu Ming didn't chase after him. This could save his true essence. The chaotic cyclic sky seal that was halfway formed dissipated. The others looked at each other in dismay. The purple golden armored youth was defeated by Lu Ming in one move and rushed off the fighting ring. Was the gap in their combat strength so big? The gap is not that big. Lu Ming's move should be his most powerful unique move. Its power is shocking. However, such a unique move consumes a lot of vital essence. It is also very terrifying. That's right. I believe Lu Ming can only use a few moves with such a move. Chapter 1547. Lu Ming returned to the 10th platform. Next, it was Xie Sha's turn. Xie Sha's face turned ugly. The purple golden armored youth had only blocked one of Lu Ming's attacks before he was defeated. God knows how much true essence Lu Ming had used. If he were to challenge Lu Ming now, he was not confident at all. However, even if he went back on his promise and gave up on challenging Lu Ming, he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. If he didn't challenge Lu Ming, he would challenge others. However, none of the remaining challengers were weak. Even if he won, he would definitely be injured. Then, the next challenger would definitely challenge him, and he would definitely lose. Fight! Xie Sha gritted his teeth. He knew that he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. He might as well challenge Lu Ming and leave a good name for himself. With a movement of his body, Xie Sha landed on the fighting ring. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, how about we fight?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and returned to the fighting ring. Buzz! Lu Ming didn't waste any time. He stepped onto the platform and formed a seal with his hands. A chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hands. Boom! Lu Ming threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at Xie Sha. Xie Sha's face changed drastically. Evil chi surged from his body. A blood-red moon appeared in his hands and he threw it at the chaotic flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The blood-red moon and the chaotic flipping sky seal clashed. After a few breaths, the chaotic flipping sky seal collapsed. Xie Sha's body was sent flying and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. He finally understood how terrifying Lu Ming's chaotic flipping sky seal was. What kind of attack is this? Why is it so terrifying? Xie Sha thought to himself. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards Xie Sha. I've lost this battle! Xie Sha shouted and rushed down the fighting stage. Like the purple golden armored youth, he admitted defeat. These people had selfish motives. After receiving the first move, they understood that they were no match for Lu Ming. Otherwise, given their strength, they could receive the second move of the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, in that case, they would be seriously injured. Like the purple golden armored youth, they were going to lose anyway. Why fight so hard? If they were severely injured, it would affect their cultivation. It would be better to leave it to the next challengers. Therefore, Xie Sha was the same as the purple golden armored young man. After receiving one attack, he immediately admitted defeat. This time, Lu Ming did not return to the platform. His gaze landed on the Nine Heaven Sword Sect powerhouse. Next, you should be challenging me, right? Come down! Swoosh! With a flash of sword light, the genius of the Nine Heaven Sword Sect stepped onto the battle stage. Just like before, let's spar and not fight to the death, the prodigy of the Nine Firmament Sword Sect said. Sure, Lu Ming said, and a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand. Lu Ming didn't want to waste time and threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. The huge chaotic flipping sky seal was like a mountain, completely enveloping the opponent. In such a battle platform, it was difficult for the opponent to dodge. He could only take it head-on. A sword chime sounded and a bright sword light shot up to the sky, slashing at the chaotic flipping sky seal. In the next moment, the sword light shattered and the chaotic flipping sky seal slammed down, causing the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple to vomit blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He didn't want to lose like this, but he didn't know how many more moves Lu Ming could make. Fight! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple became one with his sword and turned into a bright sword light, slashing at Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was covered in the chaotic domain. Another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand and attacked the Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. Oh no! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple was shocked and quickly retreated. He wanted to dodge, but under the chaotic flipping sky seal, he couldn't. Break! The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple slashed out hundreds of times. The bright sword light collided with the chaotic flipping sky seal, causing sparks to fly. The Nine Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple grunted as he was blasted off the battle platform by the chaotic flipping sky seal. His clothes were stained with blood and his face was as pale as a sheet. After taking 2 consecutive blows from the chaotic flipping sky seal, his injuries were more serious than the previous 2. How can Lu Ming's attack be so powerful? Indeed, it's too powerful. There's no way to fight it. The key is, how many times can he make such an attack? He's already made 4 attacks in a row. He should be reaching his limit soon. In the battle platform, Lu Ming looked at the Linglong Palace's disciple. The Linglong Palace's disciple was a beautiful woman. In fact, All the disciples of the Linglong Palace were women. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower. The Linglong Palace's disciple stepped forward with a beautiful smile on her face. She said softly, "Mr. Lu Ming, please have mercy on me." Her fragrance made one want to take pity on her, making one reluctant to make a move. However, Lu Ming condensed a chaotic flipping sky seal and threw it at the other party. The beautiful woman's face changed. She waved her hand and countless petals appeared. The petals formed a huge hand and pulled at the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, the result was the same. The huge hand collapsed and the beautiful woman slid 100 meters away on the battle platform. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "Mr. Lu Ming, you don't know how to be gentle with a woman." The beautiful lady wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth and glared at Lu Ming, seemingly coquettish and angry. "Fairy, you have amazing combat strength. If I were to be gentle with you, I would be the one to lose." Lu Ming took a step forward. The chaotic aura in his palm was rich and it kept unrolling. The beautiful woman had amazing combat strength. She was the least injured after taking his chaotic flipping sky seal. "Young Master Lu Ming, I wonder how many moves you can unleash with such a powerful move?" The beautiful woman smiled. "Why don't you give it a try?" Lu Ming smiled. Another chaotic flipping sky seal formed in his hand. The beautiful woman looked solemn. Countless petals swirled around her. The endless petals were colorful, making the beautiful woman look like a goddess. Boom! Lu Ming attacked for the second time. The second chaotic flipping sky seal blasted out. This time, the petals around the beautiful woman formed a shield in front of her. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down, and the shield exploded. The beautiful woman retreated to the edge of the battle platform. Her body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "Fairy, do you want to try again?" Lu Ming asked. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Finally, she sighed and turned to leave the battle platform. Lu Ming had defeated another person. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Lu Ming had already defeated 4 people consecutively. Every one of them was a top-notch prodigy, a top existence who participated in the small gathering this time. However, Lu Ming had defeated 4 people consecutively. In addition to the 3 people that Lu Ming had killed previously, this time, Lu Ming alone had defeated 7 top-notch geniuses like them. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.